An exclusive Fox 5 investigation uncovers how parents with the best of intentions may be putting their kids in a dangerous situation.
All right, now you might remember this frightening scene in Fresh Meadows last month. 7 children were injured when a minivan taking them to school collided with a city bus.
Fortunately, no one was killed, but investigators say the van was not supposed to be transporting children, and the driver, who was not certified to drive a school bus, was issued 7 citations.
And Fox 5 has found out that shady school bus operations have become a big problem in our area.
In fact, even before that accident, Fox 5's John Deutzman received a tip about a renegade school bus operation in Brooklyn.
All right, wait till you see what he found out and the foul-mouthed man behind it. You may want to plug your ears for this one.
Get the f*** away from me. I had no use for you guys.
Meet Ben, the friendly school bus driver.
Get up your ass.
Really? We found out Ben was charging parents up to $275 a month to take kids to and from school. But we also discovered Ben's business wasn't totally legit and potentially unsafe.
Get away from me.
We got a tip that something looked real fishy about 2 vans with out-of-state Pennsylvania plates picking up kids every day outside David Booty Middle School in Brooklyn. And sure enough, after just 2 short afternoons of watching the vans, we saw some questionable stuff. Here, this van filled with kids runs a red light. And here you see the light is yellow, it turns red, and this van goes through it. Here we captured the van rolling through a stop sign. The students are routinely dropped off in the middle of the street without the standard lights and protection that comes with a yellow school bus. And here, when a yellow bus has its red flashers on, the van carrying kids blows through them. These kids are precious cargo, most of them gifted and talented enough to attend David Booty Middle School, a good magnet school.
Since this is a magnet school, kids can come here from all over Brooklyn, and parents seek transportation alternatives. Either they live too far away for a standard yellow school bus, they don't want to take the yellow bus, or they don't want the other choice, which is to take subways and city buses.
Some parents and guardians we spoke to felt Ben's operation was decent and dependable. Diane Brooks is a grandmother of one of the kids.
He seemed legit to me, though. It wasn't no problem.
But paying for a renegade bus service like this clearly puts kids in a dangerous situation that goes beyond blowing red lights. The sketchy operation is not registered with the State Department of Transportation, which means the vans may not have the same safety standards that a school bus must have. Things like required safety equipment and 2 safety inspections a year. And speaking of safety inspections, Ben the bus driver, his real name is Benito Berrios, sure has some safety issues.
That's because records show this guy used to own his own bus company, and back in 1990, he pled guilty to trying to bribe a school bus safety inspector.
And since they're off the radar, nobody is keeping an eye on Ben and anyone else who drives these vans. But real bus drivers are given criminal background checks, mandatory random drug tests, and alcohol tests, and receive special training.
It seems you have an insurance issue, too.
When it comes to insurance, this guy also has some trouble. In fact, he owes the State Workmen's Compensation Board more than $44,000 for not having the proper insurance when he owned his own bus company. Which brings us back to the Pennsylvania plates on these vans.
Why are you driving kids around with Pennsylvania plates?
Get away from me.
You can't get away from the fact if your business is primarily based in Brooklyn, the law requires you to register your vehicles in Brooklyn, not Pennsylvania. And if your business is caught using out-of-state plates to avoid higher insurance rates, you could be charged with the crime of rate evasion. We thought maybe Ben would have an explanation for all this.
What type of operation is this, sir? How are you transporting these kids? You getting paid for this?
Huh? Goodbye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Maybe Ben was in a bad mood because we were following him. So we took another shot the next day.
How are you doing today?
Do me a favor. Get the f*** away from me.
What qualifies you for transporting kids?
None of your f***ing concern.
You pled guilty to bribing a bus inspector.
I don't give a what you tell me I did.
Why are you speaking like that in front of a
Because
school?
I had no use for you guys, that's why.
Why are you illegally running a bus company?
None of your business.
None of my business?
Nope. Excuse me.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I know. Go take it to the Fox and shove it up your ass.
Shove it up my what?
Yeah, up your ass.
Really? City school officials tell us they're concerned about renegade bus operations, but since this one's conjured up and paid for by the parents, they really have no jurisdiction. All they can do is warn people about it. I'm John Deutzman, Fox 5 News.
Now, John tells us even though local authorities have their hands tied, state investigators from New York and Pennsylvania are cracking down on this operation. Citations have been issued, and a criminal investigation into possible insurance fraud now underway. Stay tuned.
A bus driver who's accused of having a foul mouth is now in big trouble with the law because of a Fox 5 investigation.
And our John Deutzman was the first to expose his potentially dangerous school bus operation.
And John tells us there's nothing like a pair of handcuffs to calm a man down.
How are you doing today?
Do me a favor. Get the away from me.
What qualifies you for transporting kids?
None of your concern.
This foul-mouthed man, Benito Berrios, was not too happy when Fox 5 uncovered his illegal school bus operation.
Go take it to the Fox and shove it up your ass.
But just a few weeks after we aired the story,
Hey, Benito, how are you today? How you been? You seem to be in a lot calmer mood than the last time we talked.
Well, you want me to repeat?
Well, you ran out of F-bombs in your arsenal, or what?
this time Benito, the bus driver, was in handcuffs, arrested by the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office on multiple charges, including insurance fraud directly related to our Fox 5 investigation.
Get away from me!
We got a tip that something looked real fishy about two vans with out-of-state Pennsylvania plates picking up kids every day outside David Booty Middle School in Brooklyn. And sure enough, after just 2 short afternoons of watching the vans, we saw some questionable stuff. Here, this van filled with kids runs a red light. And here you see the light is yellow, it turns red, and this van goes through it. And here, when a legit yellow bus had its flashers on, the van carrying kids blows through them. Turns out Benito was charging parents $275 a month for his shady service. Illegal because the vans were not certified as safe school buses, and both he and the other driver working for him were not certified school bus drivers. All of that can have dire consequences. Back in December, another uncertified van with an uncertified driver from a different operation collided with a city bus in Fresh Meadows. 7 children were injured in that one. Back to Berrios, he once ran a legit bus company but was convicted of bribing a school bus safety inspector. And he ran up a tab of more than $44,000 that he owes in workman's comp for not having proper insurance for his company.
It seems you have an insurance issue, too.
And it was an insurance issue uncovered by Fox 5 that caught the attention of the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. They say that 2 illegal school vans operating in Brooklyn with Pennsylvania plates were part of an insurance scam where Ben and members of his family who live in Brooklyn committed fraud to avoid high insurance rates by registering the vans and a total of 14 vehicles to this address in the Poconos, supposedly a weekend home for Benito's son. Hard to fit 14 vehicles in that driveway.
Authorities tell us the vans were not only improperly registered in Pennsylvania, but they were registered as personal vans. An insurance expert tells us the difference in price between a personal van in Pennsylvania and doing this a legit way as a school bus in Brooklyn could easily exceed $10,000 a year.
So when we first talked to Ben,
how are you doing today?
Do me a favor. Get the f*** away from me.
What qualifies you for transporting kids?
None of your concern.
You pled guilty to bribing a bus inspector.
I don't give a what you tell me I did.
Why are you speaking like that in front of a school?
Because I had no use for you guys, that's why.
Why are you illegally running a bus company?
None of your business.
None of my business?
Nope. Excuse me.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I know. Go take it to the fox and shove it up your ass.
Shove it up my what?
Yeah, up your ass.
Really?
Maybe it was the mountain air, but Benito changed his tune after he and members of his family were arrested in the Poconos.
Hey, Benito, how are you today? Do you think it would have been better if you went legit with this whole operation? I told you that you had a few insurance issues and you apparently didn't listen to me. Benito, when it was just you and me, you had no problem with the foul language and all that. Did the handcuffs calm you down? And while it looks like Benito's in a lot of trouble, we're told there are many other renegade bus services like his out there willing to take the risk as long as parents are willing to pay the price to get their kids to and from school using these shady and potentially dangerous bus services. I'm John Deutzman, Fox 5 News.
Now, John tells us that most of the children who ride on these renegade bus services live too far away from school to qualify for the standard yellow bus. And parents don't want their children taking public transportation, city buses and subways, which are available for free.